Right now, it is time for us to go all in on Fauci the dumbass.
I hit strings, but now I'm free. There are no strings on me.
Let's go.
All right, hold on. Come on now. Lend an ear to Gary V.
It's kind of like athletes. Like, I laugh when me and my buddies sit around and critique Paul George. And I'm saying to myself, this guy's one of the 50 best players in the world right now. And none of the people on this thread can make 3 consistent jump shots wide open.
They called him a piece of shit. They're like, oh, come on, man.
Paul George still sucks, but his point still stands. I'm not saying the high and mighty authorities will never make a mistake ever, but I am saying that Dr. Anthony Fauci has forgot more stuff about epidemic management than me and the whole Crowder staff combined learned ever. You get what I mean? So yeah, I just want to put things into perspective, you know? You think I'm ready? Do-re-mi. I think I'm ready. We reacted to HasanAbi, so it's only fair that we react to some Steven Crowder, right?
So let me be really clear. I am not anti-science, Philip. I'm just anti-Dr. Fauci. Doctor who hasn't seen a patient in almost as long as Joseph Biden has been in office. So
Okay. Really? If Dr. Fauci would have prescribed a couple patients ibuprofen, you would have felt better about him handling a pandemic? Really? You sure about that, or are you just trying to find something to slight him? Now, I may be biased, because look at that. There's Fauci's name. So, I haven't read this. I've read like a couple pages of this, so no. I don't know much about Dr. Fauci. All right, so I'm not gonna go ahead and defend his character or anything because I don't know.
let me ask you, what do you think of Dr. Fauci? And this obviously, the call was making the rounds yesterday of Donald Trump saying that he doesn't really like, that he's an idiot, that if he'd have listened to him, more people would have died. And of course, everyone is attacking the messenger, Donald Trump. How could he say this? Well, listen, let's actually go through the positions that Dr. Fauci has held and see how that would have affected the outbreak of this pandemic.
If he did say that, that's not cool, dude. You don't just go ahead and throw someone on your team under the bus. I had this conversation with Natalie Starrett. It was a pretty nice conversation. I see this on all sides of the aisle. Doesn't matter if it's Steven Crowder or Hasan Piker. These guys say way too many things about stuff they don't know way too confidently. It's hard to watch sometimes. Alright? I don't really have a side, honestly. But when they're talking about stuff like this, I get it, okay? I get it. You need to refute whatever the other side is saying. And you also need to, persuade the layperson. So you can't go like, my butt like this. Because that's not fun to people. You gotta go like, no, that is wrong. This is right. But usually you're wrong when you say that. So that's my deal. I listen to all these guys semi-regularly, but when they're talking about some of these topics, it's like, dude, come on, just stop. But let's actually get into the meat of this video.
Right now, it is time for us to go all in on Fauci the dumbass.
I hit strings, but now
I'm
I'm
just being
free.
mean.
There are no strings on me.
Let's go through the flips and the flops of Dr. Fauci. This was, I believe, February and early March. Was it February 29th and March 9th? You guys can fact check me on that, somewhere around.
Okay, I'm not gonna fact check him. Also, I don't remember the progression of COVID in the US or whatever, so I'm just gonna go ahead and I don't know.
He said that going to malls, movie theaters, gyms were totally fine, and he even encouraged young people to go on cruises. March 9th.
So, Dr. Fauci, it's Saturday morning in America. People are waking up right now with real concerns about this. They want to go to malls and movies, maybe the gym as well. Should we be changing our habits, and if so, how?
No, right now, at this moment, there is no need to change anything that you're doing on a day-by-day basis. I think if you're a healthy young person, that there is no reason, if you want to go on a cruise ship, to go on a cruise ship. Personally, I would never go on a cruise ship because I don't like cruises.
I don't give a shit. Party provides way more information. I personally don't like cruises.
That was funny.
Okay, we just do your job.
Good for you.
That was alright.
Do your job, and then.
That's actually kind of surprising to me, not gonna lie. March? March isn't that late in terms of Turkey. Over here, our first case was in March, but I think it was earlier in the US. So interesting. I don't know. There was a lot we didn't know back then, but going on cruise ships, I don't know. I'm gonna have to see some context around that if I'm gonna say anything about that. So I'm just gonna leave that be.
And of course, the flop is he said that the United States can't get back to normal until late 2021.
Wow.
The thing about Dr. Fauci is he doesn't split the difference. It's like it's not something. Either you can go on either you believe you can go on a Carnival cruise line, or we have to shut down the economy until Mad Max, and there's no in between.
Is it that is Bernie Sanders' voice? Yeah, I don't know. He's actually kind of right on this one, I think. But also, I feel like I should have some empathy because these are tough calls to make. I mean, you can say we'll slowly ramp up, but if someone's asking for like, when are we going to be back to normal? And if he says, probably not before 2021, I feel like that's a pretty normal answer to give. I don't know.
You know what? Go out, enjoy your life, wear your mask where appropriate. Let's quarantine and protect the elderly, protect the vulnerable, and then, maybe don't go on a cruise. People are talking about the rise in cases, and they're not just talking about the rise in testing. Deaths have been going down for months.
Yeah.
They've been going down consistently for months. Now, they could spike up and then reach the level of a bad flu, but the point is right now, they've been going down consistently.
Yeah.
The fact that more people are testing positive, the fact that we have to go by tests and not even serious cases and hospitalizations, but tests because potentially the majority, if not a significant percentage of people don't even know that they have the disease, should tell you that it's not the Spanish flu.
I mean, again, it's like kind of right, but also not really. Is it not the Spanish flu because we took all the precautions, we locked down? There was basically not much more we could have done in terms of precautions. So is it not the Spanish flu because of that? Would it not have been the Spanish flu regardless of that? I don't know. But also, look at that. That's like worldwide 5,000 deaths a day. That's still, I mean, that's fine. Hi, Glasses Mo here, so you can tell I'm an intellectual. I said there was no other precaution to take, but there's one thing about this pandemic that I still can't wrap my head around. The virus was much scarier in the beginning when we knew nothing about it. So why did everyone wait so long until shutting down their borders? Are their economies better off now? I don't know. I don't get it. Like, imagine if everyone just cut off China at like December, and then everyone quarantined for a month. Wouldn't life just be normal? Am I thinking too simplistically? Because I don't know. It seems like a hindsight is 2020. Monday morning quarterbacking it. I get it, but it's been months and the borders were closed. So why not do it earlier when it was scarier? I don't get it.
Studies point to big drop in COVID-19 death rates.
So in this video, he talks about it's not just like widespread death rate. It's also like people that come into the hospital die less. And they have a couple of theories behind that.
Patients having a mortality that were in the hospital of 25.6%. Dropping down to 7.6%.
That is huge.
And here you can see, as we go through time, what the unadjusted mortality was, and then you can look at the adjusted mortality. And in both of these cases, it is definitely decreasing. So obviously this would not be answered by increase in testing, because here we have a population in the hospital. So this seems as though there is a very real decrease in the mortality of hospitalized patients.
Hypothesize why, please.
Decrease in what might be part of effective treatments as part of clinical trials and falling critical care burden.
So first of all, apparently we don't have as much cases of critical care, which I believe. Second of all, we're getting better at treating. So those are the two first.
So what do the authors attribute this to? Yes, it could be that we're getting better and better at detecting these patients, finding them, treating them early, and raising awareness so that these patients actually seek medical attention earlier.
Okay, that's a third hypothesis.
It could also be, as they mentioned here, that there are standardized treatments and protocols and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's always good to make sure that the hospitals are not filled to overcapacity, because then the quality of care for everybody goes down. Could it also be that the virus is mutating and maybe there's a softer version of COVID-19 that's going around? Another possibility that's raised by Horowitz and Mateen is that the factors which are outside of doctors' control that may be playing a role in driving down mortality. For instance, it says here that Horowitz believes that mask wearing may be helping by reducing the initial dose of a virus a person is receiving, and thereby lessening the overall severity of the illness for many patients. And we've covered that. And so it is possible that people who wear masks may be able to inhale the virus, but may be doing so in lower concentrations, and therefore giving the patient's immune system a fighting chance of actually surviving. Finally, Horowitz says, I do think this is good news, but it does not make coronavirus a benign illness. I think it's interesting.
Did you hear that? That does not make it benign. But yes, so you heard the hypotheses. It's probably a combination of all of them. But we've talked about this before, even in the latest video. Viral load, the inoculum. If you wear a mask and you're 6 feet away, and someone infects you with COVID anyway, that doesn't mean you'd have the same effect when someone's here and infects you. You know what I mean? You'll get more sick. It's like the age-old kid comes home with chicken pox, and then the kid's sibling gets much sicker. Why is that? Because the first kid that got it from school only got it from, like, I don't know, half an hour of exposure around somewhere. But the other kid lives with that kid. I kept saying kid, but you get it. The sibling gets it from the kid. So yeah, it's just, you know, what's it called? Basic common sense, actually. So mortality falling doesn't mean, wait, it's not deadly at all. What are we doing? But yeah, I still get where it's coming from. The video is not too bad, but I don't know why he called it, dumbass. That's COVID equals big bad. So big bad. Very big bad.
In March, he also said, keep in mind, this is March.
Yeah.
This is March.
Does that ring a
bell?
bell?
People just try and act like, oh, Donald Trump was January, February, taking serious actions.
Right.
In March, Dr. Fauci said, and here's the thing, he didn't just say that you shouldn't wear masks.
Yeah.
I want to show you this clip because he was very adamant about it. Yeah. He was even given opportunities to be like, ooh, want to scale that back so you can give yourself an out later?
I spilled water everywhere. No. My keyboard, don't die, please.
I'm going to double down.
I'm all in.
People should not be walking around with masks.
Oh.
You're sure of it, because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask.
Dr. Fauci, people are
when
watching
you're
this.
in the middle of an outbreak,
not a lot.
Wearing a mask
television.
might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet. But it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is.
Now he says that mask wearing speaks for itself is the exact quote. We'll need to wear.
Yeah, that's not. Why didn't it speak for itself before? Here's the deal. Information evolves. But I was also confused at the beginning because the first, I don't know, couple months, people were like, hey, it's primarily aerosol, okay? It's primarily aerosol. If you wear a surgical mask, it does absolutely nothing, right? So I think that's where that's coming from. But I was also very confused at the beginning of this. You know why? Because in the hospitals, the protocols were you don't need to really wear an N95 unless you're like going in and like putting in a breathing tube and it's in the patient's mouth. If you're just walking around the hospital, surgical mask is fine. But wait, I thought surgical masks didn't do anything. So that's where I was confused at the beginning. So then I had to reconcile it to by saying, hey, governments don't have enough masks. That's why if they just say, hey, go ahead and everyone buy all the masks you can. Also, everyone was hoarding everything and surgical masks got finished anyway. If they just said, go ahead, guys, this is what you need, masks, then there wasn't going to be enough left for hospitals and healthcare workers. And then we'd have a much bigger problem on our hands because healthcare workers would start to die. And then people that got sick weren't going to have anyone to look after them. And then they're going to die. And then, yeah, you get it. I think that's the problem. Exactly. That's why the messaging was so bad in the US too. Yeah. So I think that's the basic gist of it. It seems very dishonest, and it kind of is. But also, these are the recommendations I have for the public. The public should not be wearing masks, and they shouldn't be feeling safe when they do wear masks. You know. So yeah, that's what I think the synopsis, the summary of that is. It said don't wear masks because we're not gonna have masks for the people that actually need them. And then we do have enough masks.
Now, if it seems confusing,
Wait a
this
second.
actually may provide some clarity as to how and why he was caught not wearing a mask at a baseball game. So now
no, that's embarrassing.
And then he was asked later, do you regret telling people not to wear masks? Do you think that really affected the pandemic? He said, nah, I don't know. Hold on a second. Either masks are the most important thing we have to do. They can be more effective than the vaccine, according to some medical experts, or you killed many people. Because you said don't wear masks. There are people right there with...
That's not fair. You killed many people? That's what a Karen says? I mean, that's a huge oversimplification. Like, whenever you're a government and you're making a decision about public health, you're probably gonna kill a couple people. I mean, you have to make a call either way. That's your job. I don't know. I mean, they also made other calls, and it's always a balance. You make a call, you kill some people. You make a call, you save some people. That's just what the job entails. The tough call that you made at the time with the information that you had at the time doesn't mean that the people that die because of it, you are the murderer of. Come on, that's what the hell, dude. That's so reductionist. Also, like I said, because of the healthcare worker thing, and if you didn't have enough masks, which I don't know whose fault that is, but a lot of countries were importing masks to each other everywhere. That's just what it was. It happened all over. But yeah, it's Dr. Fauci. Oh no.
There were people watching, including people here where we had Origin Maine. They were a friend of ours where they were retooling to create masks. There are scenarios where it's appropriate. We said there are scenarios where it's appropriate, and then there are scenarios where it's not appropriate. For example, using a made-at-home cotton mask without washing it and reusing it. That does nothing. It actually makes it worse. Very different from surgical masks and N95 respirators, or washing your double-layered mask repeatedly in a hospital washing machine. Find me one study that shows that homemade cotton masks without being washed in hospital commercial washing machines, that it's more effective than not wearing a mask. Show me the science, Dr. Fauci. It is remarkable that this guy is never held accountable at all.
There were so many qualifiers there, though. What? Okay. All of Dr. Fauci's flip-flops? How about all of Steven Crowder's flip-flops? Here's where I start to have issue with the video, except for the "you killed a lot of people" part. Other than that, it was fairly reasonable and understandable. Okay, here's what he's saying basically. If you have a double-layered mask and you wash it with hot water and soap, that's possibly worse than not wearing something? I mean, maybe? Steven Crowder, if you jumped out of a plane, I'm gonna assume you're gonna use a parachute. Show me the science! Show me the science on parachutes actually being better than not wearing parachutes. We know that cloth masks, I'm not even gonna show you the science because, I mean, there is science. And you know what? Crowder knows the science. And I'll show you that he does.
So masks right now.
Right now. First of all, obviously it depends on how many layers it has, what it's made of, blah, 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 blah. It's not better than surgical masks, but it's pretty good. Cloth masks look actually they work pretty well, you know? There's no these guys only wore cloth masks, and these guys only wore surgical masks, and these guys wore nothing. You can't do that. You can't just say, hey, there's a pandemic right now, all right? You guys, you are nothing. Let's see if you get sick. You can't do that. You can't do a study like that. That just doesn't work. How are you going to do that? I don't know. You can't do that. It's just not ethical. You're making the pandemic worse. If there's reasonable doubt that cloth masks do anything, that it's not unethical because it's like, I don't know, let's try it. But, I mean, is there? Dr. Motabs. motives. So many. He's open 500. They're all pinned too. I like getting back to things later. All right, and then I also like being lazy about it. This was back in April.
This is a new story. CDC, they're now saying that masks may be good. That they may be good.
Like we didn't know this.
Who wants to put the over-under on in 2 days? They'll say masks, okay, they're good. Masks are good.
In April, they're like, oh yeah, like we didn't know masks. Oh, it's common sense. Obviously, masks are fine. That was what they were saying back then. I don't get it. Why did you change this? Why?
Really, it's not about what's best for you. It's about the fact that there was a shortage.
Yeah.
And why does that?
He knows it too. He knows it too.
Matter because they're trying to cover their own asses because the government shipped out a lot of these medical supplies and didn't replenish them. That has been put out there by supposed doctors. So initially, what were we told? You don't need masks at all. I said on this show, actually, masks kind of help. And I talked about if you don't have a mask, you can make one out of a t-shirt or a pillowcase. Did a lot of research on that. They said, don't take masks because we have and then they said, but every healthcare worker needs one. Right. Because there's a shortage. Well, hold on. What is it? Do masks not work? Or is there a shortage? Just tell us, listen, everyone should be wearing masks, but we screwed up, so we don't have enough masks, and the private industry is going to have to step in and save us. So, yes, masks help, but please bear with us because we suck. We're incompetent. If they said that, it wouldn't have been a problem. The problem is they lied to the American public. And so what does that do? It removes faith in institutions, just like with the media. Hey, let's bring up this study. Masks work. We know beyond any shadow of a doubt that masks do help. That's why they do them in a lot of these Asian countries.
Look at him! What is this? I don't get it. How? How did you go from that to this? How did you go from that to prove to me that masks are better than not masks? I don't get this. Here he says that, but 6 months ago, six and a half actually, he figured out. He's saying we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that masks work. What the hell? I've usually seen Crowder be consistent throughout his arguments, even if they're not very good, but they're even usually based on something. Here, what is this? Like, okay, here's what's probably going through his head. They're trying to mandate masks, and hey, that's a bit too much. I'm not gonna go ahead and say, yes, masks good, but then I'll kind of be like saying, yes, let's mandate masks. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to say, oh, prove to me that masks work. That's a bit, that's a bit disingenuous. That doesn't,
Even a homemade mask, particularly from a cotton blend, t-shirt, or antimicrobial pillowcase, okay? We have a link right there, and you can find more information on it. They studied to see what was most effective at removing particles. And actually, the most effective was, I think, a vacuum bag cleaner and a dish towel. But then people just couldn't breathe, and they were suffocating and died.
Well,
so they said the best middle ground
Yeah.
is a poly blend T-shirt followed by an antimicrobial pillowcase because you create 2 layers, and it is 70% effective at filtering small particles. Now keep in mind, a non-N95 mask is 80-something% effective, anywhere from 80-something% to I've heard as high as 94%. I don't have the exact numbers. People might say 70%, that's not a lot. Here's the thing. There's a twofold benefit with masks, and I think that it's something we could do in this country, by the way, that would allow us to, again, protect the most vulnerable. So masks, they eliminate very effectively. The 70% is not about droplets going out. Droplets going out, masks are very effective at stopping that. So what happens? People who are carriers, maybe even people who are asymptomatic, which, by the way, it seems like that should be silver lining, right? 25% of people are asymptomatic. So in other words, 90% of people, when you total it up, have the coronavirus, have no symptoms at all.
Yeah.
Is that good news?
It's almost as if he knows exactly what he's talking about. And now look at what he's saying. I used to have respect for Steven Crowder because, I still do, I guess, but like he had some bad arguments, but he always based it on something, right? He always based it on something. Even if it was like a really bad argument, he wasn't just pulling it out of thin air. Like he could be like it's like a random person reading a study versus a professional reading a study that actually has like a base to build on. I get when you can make a weird opinion on a study. That's fine. But here, it just seems like you're trying to do the opposite of whatever's being recommended. People said don't wear masks, and you said wear masks. Turned out you were right. And then now you're saying don't wear masks. What are you doing? I don't know if it was a broken clock situation, But you were right. And you knew you were right. Now what are you doing? What is your problem?
So now we know a lot of people are asymptomatic, don't know that they have coronavirus, and we know that masks stop it from spreading to other people. Everyone go out and wear masks, and then it's 70% effective at ingoing particles. That's not entirely, but that being said, if it's very effective for outgoing particles, and then 70% for the next guy with ingoing particles, guess what?
Bro, I'm gonna send the clip of this to people that don't understand. He explained it so well! He explained it so well! This is how I would explain it! What the hell? He even showed his own evidence. Like, I don't...
The wearing of masks has proven to lessen the spread of COVID.
Really?
Why don't you support a mandate for national mask?
The other video, remember when he said, beyond a shadow of a doubt, we know it works. But that's when Fauci was saying, don't wear masks. So that it was cool then.
Mask wearing, and why don't you wear a mask more often?
Constitution much, you old crazy bitch?
Okay, see? There we go. That's the deal. Now you're doing exactly what Fauci did. You're saying, hey, I don't want it to be mandated, so I'm going to frame it like it doesn't actually work. You're literally doing exactly what you were criticizing.
Why don't you just have a mandate to force people to wear a mask? Do you know why that's a problem? This is remarkable because I was driving down the freeway today and I saw one of those, what are those billboards, digital billboards that sort of rotate? Yeah. And it was saying, wear your masks.
Yeah.
And hold on a second, you told us the opposite of that. You said it was dangerous to wear masks. And by the way, we questioned the experts here. We were going, hey, you know what? If you know how to wear a mask, we tried to instruct you on how to put it on properly, it can protect other people. And the Surgeon General said, no. Don't believe the conspiracies online. Trust the World Health Authorities and us. And now they're out there. They want to make it illegal to not wear a mask. Exactly. That it's more effective than not wearing a mask. Show me the science, Dr. Fauci. Yeah. It is remarkable that this guy is never held accountable at all. Just again, context matters because this is, people can say, well, you've changed your position based on new information. That is true. I understand that. And that's why there is no the science. There's science. There's the scientific process. And new information can change your opinion. However, is there any new information after March 9th that should wildly change your opinion on wearing masks? Keep in mind, at that point in time when we were talking about PPE, everyone mocked Donald Trump because, again, this idea of using masks and fondling them was a real problem, and they needed a way to sanitize masks. And he said, we have some of the finest liquids where we can, and then sure enough, they came up with commercial sanitizing stations to reuse masks. So this science was available at that time, and it was already being repeated ad nauseum by Fauci. Nothing has changed.
Say what you will, he does a good Trump. Can Dr. Mo do 20 push-ups? No! I definitely try, but I reserve the right to give up whenever I want.
The chief guy had all of the information and said, don't wear a mask in what? March.
Right.
Are you serious?
Well, and when Donald Trump was making the case, he was saying, if I'd have listened to him, if I'd have listened to Dr. Fauci, we would have had many more people dead. People go, oh, that's totally unreasonable. Well, hold on a second.
You don't say that. Even if it's 100% correct, which is not, you don't get to say that. Dude, he's a teammate. You don't throw him under the bus. That's not cool. That's not cool anytime in anything.
At that point, Donald Trump was saying, hey, we need to find a way to re-sanitize masks. The medical experts were saying, that's ridiculous, using the finest liquids. Donald Trump said, we need to expedite the process of therapeutics, many of which have given us great promise. Dr. Fauci said, we can't do that. We have to make sure it's tied up in red tape because some of them could give you a tummy ache.
Okay, I agree with the first point, where whatever Donald Trump said, the media would just go ahead and take him out of context and make fun of him and say, aha, and then I'd see it on Twitter, and then I'd go actually listen to the clip because I know they do this, and I'm like, he didn't even say that, or it's like he didn't even mean that at all, and I don't know. That's why I don't like how the media portrays Trump, and I can't trust them anymore because of that. It's like, dude, let him have one thing. Like, every single thing he says, you try to take him out of context and like, it gets old, you know? But the second part, no. I'm 100% with Fauci here.
Donald Trump said, we need to expedite the process of therapeutics, many of which have given us great promise.
Great promise comes great results. Anyway, are we talking about hydroxychloroquine here? Because show me the science. Really? We're still doing this?
Dr. Fauci said, we can't do that. We have to make sure it's tied up in red tape because some of them could give you a tummy ache.
A tummy ache? You mean arrhythmias? That could, like, kill you? That couple seconds right there, you should have we should like take out of the video, if you ask me. Don't expedite the process for stuff that's not proven. And also, side effects are real.
Do you think if Donald Trump were listening to Dr. Fauci, do you think they would have put their foot on the gas pedal to make sure that everybody got the PPE that they needed, including masks? Because Dr. Fauci was saying it's not going to do a whole lot.
That's actually a good point. I don't know. Did that affect them? No. If my thesis is true that they did it to have enough for the healthcare workers, then they would have known that internally and it wouldn't have changed a thing.
Now, your opinion can change based on not the science, meaning Dr. Fauci, as you kneel at the altar of Geppetto. I'm saying science, meaning the scientific process. Now that we know it is actually significantly less lethal to young people than the normal flu, and we don't shut down schools over the normal flu, and that they are often not carriers, we can change our opinions and say, okay, maybe time to reopen schools for those who are statistically not at risk.
I agree. Here I agree. I don't know why. I guess I do, because it's the flu season in the Northern Hemisphere. And it's kind of scary. But make the students wear masks and send them back to school. Is it that big a deal? I don't know. The problem is, like, let's say, like, even my father, if my sister goes to school and gets COVID and comes back, my father has diabetes and hypertension. So it's not, what are we gonna do exactly? Like, is my sister not going to speak with my father until the summer? I don't know. Is that the way? I mean, this isn't justification for not opening schools, obviously. I feel like we should open schools, but also, it's not entirely clear how we would do that, but also just going, okay, more lockdowns, lock it down, lock more lock. That's not, I feel like that's not the most thought out strategy either, you know? This inevitable doom is upon him. We'll see when I crush those 20 push-ups. I can also take breaks, by the way.
Show me the controlled study or a trial, anything that's peer-reviewed. That's what they love to talk about. Peer-reviewed, published that shows that COVID-19 is significantly more lethal or even as lethal as a standard flu to young'uns. Show it to me. Comment below. I will stand correct. This is
okay, first of all, what he's trying to say is, I get what he's trying to say. It's actually pretty true, but that's such a weird way to say it. Uh-oh. It's upon me. Hey. Aeroplays 101. Hey. I'm _lazy84. You see that? That's where you belong. I'm gonna do that joke every time now. Every time. That's where you belong. Because you're trash. Hi. It's me. That's 10. Yes! That's 20, baby! That's 20, baby! Yeah, that was, that was so easy.
That COVID-19 is significantly more lethal or even as lethal as a standard flu to young'uns. Show it to me. Comment below. I will stand corrected.
By the way, I made fun of him, but he's right. It's not that big a deal if you're under like 20, you know? It's just not. As far as I know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
And now you have the most recent offense in which he's suggesting that Americans cancel Thanksgiving.
What is your advice about Thanksgiving?
Offense?
I think people should be very careful and prudent. But when you're talking about relatives that are getting on a plane, being exposed in an airport, being exposed in a plane, then walk in the door and say, Happy Thanksgiving, that you have to be careful about.
There was a recent study.
There's a problem with that now?
Again, science, this just came out, I believe it was American Airlines or Delta, that if you stay seated and wear your mask, there is statistically a 0% chance of being infected. Now, I don't believe it.
Wait, 0? I'm going to have to see that study, but also, that's not the point. If 20 of your relatives are going to come from other parts of the country and sit down for a whole night, that's exactly how you spread the virus. Maybe don't do that this time. It's cool if you just skip a Thanksgiving, right? It's not that big a deal. What I don't understand is people thinking that if you're related to someone, then it doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
So he just described an activity that the airlines are trying to say is safe, that the World Health Organization is saying, hey, listen, we're at a point where we need to
He also said airport, by the way. Also, it's not that you get exposed, it's that you go to 20 people and spread it. You're missing the point here.
And then for some reason he also decides to just throw family under the bus.
Yeah, he did.
Where they show up at your door, perhaps they're being affectionate, perhaps your father actually did tell you he loved you and displayed physical affection, you know, the positive male role model that some of you were fortunate enough to have, and I hope you burn in hell.
Okay, Bernie Sanders, but... Anyway, I already made the argument. He's not throwing family under the bus. They're people just like strangers. But guess what? You actually are more intimate with them when you're sitting around the table in a closed room with 20 people eating food, no mask. It's just common sense at this point. We are done with that. That is all we had to do with that. Okay, so it wasn't as bad as we thought. If we're being honest here, that was pretty alright. That was pretty alright. But the way he did a full 180 on masks, it's kind of weird. That was kind of weird. And as always, the truth was somewhere in the middle. But what you should never forget is to subscribe to Dr. Mo Productions.